Let me give you an example. You know, one of the evils in the world is bullying. It used to just be in the classroom, but those bullies graduate, and now a big problem is bullying in the workplace. And there it's even worse because they become foremen, and they have now power. And they can use that bully power to make people's lives miserable, okay? And how do we oppose the bullying? Well, typically, you know, there's big programs to, you know, kick the bully out of the class. They just go to another class or another school, or punish the bully in some way. My sense is, what we have to do is mobilize other students and other people in the workplace to say, you know, bullying is not only unfair, it makes our whole environment less pleasant because we feel guilty that we know it's happening and we look the other way. And so now a group of us is going to get together and together we're going to say, look, we don't like bullying, we got to stop the bully. Because usually bullies are big and tough and whatever, and you can't oppose them individually. But now you go with a group and you go to the bully and say, we know what you're doing, we don't like it, it makes our class unpleasant, we would like you to stop. And if you do, we promise to be your friend. And we go around the way. Me, Christian, me, Sean, me, Bill, me, John, and me, Mary. And if you don't, we're going to make your life miserable. Simple choice. I can't believe it wouldn't work. You know, because then what you're doing is have students directly confronting the bully, giving the bully a very reasonable option to stop what you're doing. That's what we want. And if you do, by doing nothing, you're going to make friends. And I think lots of bullies do bullying because they don't know how to get anybody to respect them or love them. And so bullying is you get people to fear them. And now you give them a new option. It's such a simple idea, but it's never been done. So this is the kind of thing we would promote on the Heroic Imagination website. And so again, it's that we want to get away from that notion of the solitary male hero who goes on this extended journey. Say, yeah, to be a hero requires a transformation. And transformation is being passive, to say, you know, it's not my job to get involved. Every mother says, mind your own business, don't get involved. Every mother in the world. And you have to say, Mama, humanity is my business. I have to be involved, because if I'm not, who will be there for me when I need help? And so our goal is, you have to transform people from being passive to being active. Heroes have to act. You have to transform them from being not concerned about others to being socially aware and socially concerned. And so there is a journey, but I think it's not a Joseph Campbell 12-step journey. I think it's a 3 or 4-step journey. But a good question. Other questions?
I had a question.
Tell me your name again.
Sarah.
Sarah, thank you.
You were talking about, like with your Stanford prison experiment or groups like the Ku Klux Klan or even the Nazis, how when you de-individualize a person, it makes it easier for them to do evil things. But then you were also talking about just now, if you were in a group of people like the Underground Railroad or like the Christians who were helping the Jews during the Holocaust, it's also easier to do good things if you're de-individualized almost. So what is the difference between those two groups that makes them so distinct, or their purposes so distinct?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yeah, the difference is in the overriding value or ideology. That is, most evil begins with some ideology. An ideology is like a value system or belief system, which in and of itself is good. So most evil, like the evil of the Iraq War, begins with the government wants to protect our national security. Who would be against that? Why? Rescue group, you do it so that you're not going to be identified and put in jail or caught. But the same thing, if you're a terrorist, you also don't want to be identified because you don't want to get caught. So the anonymity works both ways. Whether it works for good or evil really depends on the values that you as an individual or your group is supporting or challenging. Okay? Another question. We need to spread the questions around. Come on, people in the back who are not doing anything.
What you just described, the symmetry, so to speak, of anonymity between good and evil, can that be applied applied to other concepts. Say that I don't know, some person fell on train tracks and there's a train coming. There's two possibilities. You can either jump down and get him, or not jump down and get him. So let's define jumping down and get him as good, and not jumping down and get him as passive. Not necessarily evil, but rather just passive. Could you have a similar situation in which you would have an evil response? Basically, what I'm trying to say is, are good and evil symmetrical? Basically saying that if you have a generalization about one of the two of them, is a similar thing true about the other?
Yeah, in general, yeah, it's a good question again. Tell me your name.
Benedict.
Say it again.
Benedict.
Benedict. Well, yeah, I mean, the heroic imagination concept that I evolved, I think I first mentioned in chapter 16 of Lucifer Effect, is the flip side of Hannah Arendt's concept of the banality of evil. And so essentially what I'm saying is, what she's saying is most evil is done by ordinary people. And the banality of evil is in fact that we have come to think about evil people as monsters. It's really from our comic books, from our, a fictional thing of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And what I'm saying is most good things are also done by ordinary people. So I think I coined the term in the Lucifer Effect, the banality of good, the banality of heroism is the equivalent, but the flip side of the banality of evil. It's that most people who do evil are ordinary people who are seduced by the power of the situation. Most people who do good are ordinary people who, in a very same situation that inflames the hostile imagination of those who become villains, for some reason we don't know, instills a heroic imagination in them to oppose evil and to do good. And so to that extent, there is an antithesis, there is a dialectic between good and evil, between banality of evil and banality of heroism, and then or between what I call the hostile imagination, thinking about other people filled with hate, and so you hate nations, you hate groups of people, versus the heroic imagination where you are compassionate toward other people, and you psychologically ready yourself to think about yourself as a hero in waiting, a hero in practice, that when opportunity calls your name, you will respond. Because again, most people do nothing most of the time. And that's the biggest problem. It's really public inaction, public indifference. There were two recent